What's up, everybody? This is the last Friday Mastermind of 2022. Every Friday for over 6 years, Todd Bookspan and I have been doing this Friday Mastermind because we just love to mastermind. What's up, Todd?
I'm super stoked to be here. It's game time at the Bookspan house, and I couldn't pass up hanging out with all of you. So I peeled away to close out 2023 in style.
Right on, right on.
So we have to know at least what's one game that y'all are playing. Like, what's a Bookspan top game that you guys always play?
We do lots of puzzles, and we got new games, collaborative games that my daughter's boyfriend gave us. I don't know what they're called yet. We're playing them tomorrow when he flies into town. But we did play apples to apples with I don't know what her real relation is, but my father-in-law's step grandkid, something like that. So it's a game, we'll play it.
Okay.
I love that. And just a little bit of trivia on the Bookspan family. They are competitive. What are those houses that you break out of? What's that thing you do, Todd? You go to those rooms.
Escape rooms. Oh yeah. In fact, we're doing escape room tomorrow. There's not many escape rooms where we're not in the top 5 for escaping times. And it's not because of me. Like, if I can solve one puzzle and be a contributor, that's a great day. But my kids are freaking smart. So they got that from my wife. We just stay out of their way.
And I'm going to say his family is the best in the mortgage business. So out of everybody in the mortgage industry, no one can beat the Bookspan family at escaping from escape.
Let's not go that far. The mortgage industry is smart, but I did get a ping pong table because I'm training to play with Dave when he invites me to his place there in California.
That's not likely that you'll do well against.
No, I didn't say I was training to beat you. I want to be able to actually just hit the ball back.
Please at least go live on Facebook.
Okay, all right. So let's
awesome.
move on.
Way off the track.
I want to introduce everybody to Dave Gallegos. Again, this is not the first time I've interviewed David. So Dave's become a personal friend. He is on vacation here in Newport Beach. Let's say hi, everyone.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I think I was on the first one of these that you did with you and Todd, and it was Darren Hardy based.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
So that was pretty cool when it was a high performance.
Insane productivity.
Insane productivity. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That was
absolutely an OG of the group.
6 years it's been going.
Yeah. Well,
impressive.
Dave Gallegos has been a friend, someone I've mastermind for. Is it 2 decades? I mean, I know it's been more than one.
I started using Mortgage Coach in the early 2000s. So because I didn't get exposed to the Duncan world until when you were presenting at Duncan in like 2001, I think 2000 probably. So yeah, 22 years. 20 years.
And he is a prolific branch manager. There's a lot of things that distinguish Dave as a leader in the mortgage industry and a leader in the mortgage business. But he's brought a lot of great loan officers into the business who are among the best loan officers in the business, and they all use Mortgage Coach. So I always interview him as like, hey, if you're a branch manager and you want to teach your loan officers how to be advisors, like, this guy is a poster child on how to do that.
Yeah,
so
yeah, he's Mortgage Coach.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. And then
that's how you get to sit here.
Yeah. We have a first time interview today, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better, Noel. I know you are a grandmaster. He's done over 1,000 TCAs. I know, because we were kind of getting to know each other behind the stage here at the beginning, that he learned the mortgage business from real prolific mentors. And then Deb, you were the one that said, hey, let's have Noel as a guest today. And why don't you share, why you thought he'd be a great guest here on the 30th?
Well, ironically, I first saw his content because of Scott Nicholson with Lender Launchpad. I think you were one of the first to create and really utilize all the features. So then naturally, of course, I start stalking you on social media, and I'm following you for quite some time. And you would post, your the Calm app quotes and a lot of mindset and leadership, but also just very consistent with creating content and using Mortgage Coach. So, naturally through social media, I'm liking and commenting, and we kind of developed a relationship. And I thought, we've got to have you on Mortgage Coach because he does such a good job with the consistency piece, as well as integrating it in just the day-to-day world of, running a branch, running a team, having to have the right systems and processes in place. I thought, what a great example to end the year with. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Super pumped to be here. Just ending the year with 3 greats right here is a big deal to me. So I'm just super stoked to be here and chat through this.
Well, we're going to ask you some questions. You are the special guest, and Dave, you're co-moderating this with me, so feel free to chime in,
Okay.
ask questions.
Thanks.
So Noel, let's just start with how you got into the business, because when we were doing prep, sounds like you had some really good mentors that help you develop some skills and some habits that serve you today. So just give us a little backstory on that, and then share what are the skills and habits you learned that you think are still serving you really well today.
Yeah, so started in the business in 2002 in Scottsdale, now in Boise, moved up here in 2009, but super blessed to start with a small boutique bank out of Scottsdale, and they were early adopters of Mortgage Coach. So I didn't know anything different, right? That's our team meetings were based around it. From a value added perspective, like that's what we did over and over and over again to differentiate ourselves and really convey that to clients the best way, right? So I just have never known another way to do it, and I'm super grateful for that. And the people that I started with as I was a loan officer assistant now are, you know, big producers. So it works, right? And we do it consistently. Like all of our clients get a TCA, they all get a video with their TCA. So it's an unnegotiable, a non-negotiable for all of our clients. And I think I was just off to a really good start, and we consistently have done that year in, year out. And I think it's just been the base and core of our team.
So you had mentioned Myron. Was he one of your early mentors? And you'd also mentioned Michael Reagan. Were they mentors? Did you get in the business at the same time? Who were they to you?
So Myron was under Michael's team, and I was the same role at another team while working alongside them, essentially. So, but all of our daily disciplines were, I mean, they mimicked each other, right? So everything was based off of Mortgage Coach. All our tasks, all our theme days, everything was the same. And I've, even though I didn't work directly with them, I mean, I learned a lot from them, if that makes sense. I mean, they were just, their habits, they've done it for 15 years now, right? And it's the same thing over and over. I know it's redundant, but they are the best at it. They're consistently bringing it every day. And super grateful I started with Michael and Myron, so. Yeah,
and just for anyone listening, I interviewed Myron a couple times this year. He's the #1 loan officer at Prime Lending. So, you know, I don't know if over 1,000 loan officers, #1. And the thing that you can learn from Myron is that he has his database monitored, and he calls every single alert between 8 and 9, 5 days a week. So he is just a database nerd. He brags about the fact that I think he said, I have only had 2 meetings outside the office in a year. So it's all over the phone, it's all on Zoom. And we're literally talking one of the most iconic, most successful loan officers because he puts his database first. Now, I'm not advocating that we don't get out of the office. I don't think like you should have more than 2 meetings out of the office a year, Myron. But hey, it works for you. And everybody should be calling their database alerts between 8 and 9. You know, that's a thing. So Deb, any questions you want to kick off starting to ask to make sure we unpack?
I actually was going to ask Todd, is that like music to your ears when you hear how many times he said consistently?
Well, absolutely. And we should throw out a little quick, you know, Michael is Michael Regan, coach at Building Champions, a good friend of mine. And I got to feel like I was in the office back then in those days, because I did a mastermind with Michael Tooker and a couple other local legends here, Mike Metz and RJ Crosby. And so I feel like Noel and I have been connected for a long time. And you know, I think back then Myron would rollerblade into work. I think he was, you know,
oh my God,
definitely a little different, but go ahead, Deb, ask your question.
Well, so that was really it. That I was going to let Noel just continue with his systems and process, but I was going to throw in the consistency piece and how important that is. And also who your mentors are and who you're surrounded with makes a big difference. That once you figure out what it is you want, then you need to figure out how to get it. And who are you asking the questions to, or who are your mentors? And I know, Dave, you're good at this, Gallegos, of training new loan officers and having a system and a process in place to help them get started when you're new.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because what I would say is, here we are, whatever it is, 15 plus years later. And because of the let's call it the community, because of the focus that branch had, because it was a small boutique branch of a bank out of Iowa or somewhere. And, the leadership and mentorship that they had as branch managers and leaders, I think that anyone who's watching this, who's a leader, should think about that. What kind of impact can you have? Can you create this philosophy around serving clients better, around using TCAs in all of your transactions? And that's when Michael Regan and I used to meet all the time. We had a consistent meeting where the two of us, sat there and sharpened each other. And so just so much I know of what Noel does now is stuff that we all discussed, Michael and I at the restaurants on Fridays back then.
Yeah, they were, and I want to kind of highlight, they were like life coaches too, right? They very much were focused on, do these things, do these big rocks during the morning, but, have your family, no burnout, right? So, if you're doing these things and you're a good husband, you're a good father, you have your time to do all the other stuff, that was highlighted all the time. And that's something that we bring to on our Tuesday meetings too, with our team of, we want to know all the other good stuff that's happening. And by doing these things, I don't want to say consistently again, but it does. It's just, you get in the office, you do the stuff you need to do, because we want to do the other stuff, right? I have two young kids, and they are up here and everything's down here, right? I want to get my stuff done and be productive, but I also want to, be present for all the other stuff that they're doing in their lives, because it's so critical to myself and my wife, right? So, and they were awesome at that. That whole team just focused on that from day one.
So I know you have like some bullet points of the things that from this past year that what you're going to carry into next year that you're absolutely going to keep doing. So what are those consistent things that you are doing that you're 100% going to continue on to really thrive next year?
Yeah, so it overlaps with what Todd's doing with Win by Noon. Miracle Morning, it's I don't know if I think a lot of people know about Hal Elrod. I started that at the beginning of the pandemic because it was kind of getting off a little bit of too much work, right? And that was before the pandemic. So, after that, it was even more so, but it's so critical from a mindset perspective to do those things, from doing my workouts. I meditate every day. I recite my affirmations. So I have that hour in the morning that I do every single day that just gets my mind right, then goes to my tasks in the morning. Just so I can check off. I'm a list guy too. I check off those things, but highlighting that Miracle Morning, if there's anything that I know moving forward that I've done well over the last 2 years, that is going to be the highlight moving forward, along with Win by Noon. I work those in tandem for sure, and they're non-negotiables. So
to Win by Noon, you do the Miracle Morning to start it. So Dave, you're a great leader, and you are a non-producing branch manager, and so you kick off the year making sure your team's got their head right.
Yep.
Knowing that we've got somebody not in your branch, but you know enough about him, like what questions do you have, or what questions do you ask, like if he was on your team, to kind of like come in 23 with the right head?
Well, so what I did this year, and I would ask you, I'm curious as to what you did to prepare for 2023. So one of the things that we asked everybody to do this year was, like, we have the simple, probably several iterations away from the old Building Champions business tracking tool, where you plugged in your numbers and like, how much money do I want to make this year? So what's my average transaction commission? And so how many transactions? And then it breaks it down to lead count, how many leads, credit pulls, applications, and closings do I need to do that? And then what I asked everybody to do was tell me the 3 things, just 3. I don't want 20. I want 3 things that you're going to work on in Q1 that you need to improve: habits, skills, strategies, projects. What are those 3 things? And then I want everybody to share them with me. I also asked them all to tell me, why is the goal you set for yourself in 2023 so important to you? Like, what will it mean? Tell me what it'll mean to you to achieve that goal. And I want you to come to a, does your why make you cry moment? Like, I want to know, why is it important? Because if it's not important, you talk about your kids, Noel, and I get it, because that was always mine. Mine was always, well, I want to take care of my family. At the end of the day, that's what this is. That's why I get up and leave my house every day, because I want to take good care of my family. And so I would ask that to you. Do you have those three things, or do you set up something like that for 2023?
Well, wait, let's do this in order. So let's
Sorry,
do the
I did a lot.
No, well, first of all, it was really good. I mean, and by the way, I think even if we spent the whole call unpacking what Dave just said, and community, if you have questions or comments, put them. But let's start with the first one. One, what is your goal? And then, what is your why for that goal? So let's go there. And then we'll do the things to achieve that goal.
Yeah, so, and I don't know if that's directed totally at a production standpoint or just a life standpoint, but
However you want to answer it.
I guess I asked it on the production standpoint, what is your production goal? And then why is that an important goal? And so, because if it's just a nice number, yeah, it'd be cool to do 100 loans, or it'd be cool to do 200 loans. Like, going, you're not going to do it. Like, of course it would be nice, but tell me why it matters. Why is it important? And are you committed? That's where I'm getting.
So what is your goal, and why is that your goal? Production goal.
Yeah, so from a production standpoint, so we'll end the year this year with production of 33 million. And so we're trying to get back up 25% this year. So we're going to try to go back up to 42 million this year, which we're going to do. I think every time and that's one thing, Dave, that's a really good question of this year, as far as being, hey, here's my number. I think I got away from that this year and I didn't hit it. Every year prior to that, I had my number. And it's funny how the mind works, that if you have that number in mind, somehow, some way you just get it done and will your way to get it. So that would mean that's why I'm doing it.
How many families served is that? How many loans is that?
So that will be, what did we have? We had it at 135 loans.
So now let's just unpack that why a little deeper, and feel free to coach.
No, I just, because that's why that's a great number. And I'm guessing I know the answer, because so I'm a big building champion. I didn't do my first life plan until I got into Building Champions, and Todd knows the story. Steve Scanlon was my coach, and he wasn't going to coach me unless I went to loan officer productivity school. Really annoyed me. And so I had to do both. But when I first did that life plan, the whole life success part of this business changed my life. I didn't do it until I was 40. It was the first time I did one. And it changed everything. And so that's why I asked the why question, because I think the why, because I can help you if you have a why. If it's a nice to have, then it's hard to help you because you're not going to care that much. You know what I mean? And so if I can get you, if you can tell me why you care, I can coach. And if I don't know why you care, then you don't care. And so that's the hard part.
So why do you want to do that number?
We want to serve, we are advocates of home ownership, right? I want to serve as many families as possible next year.
Well, let's go deeper. Let's go deeper than that. Why?
Gosh, putting you on the spot here, Dave. Holy moly.
I know, I was gonna say that's a hard one to answer right away without some thought.
Hey guys, this is what time it is in the mortgage industry. It's gonna be a hard year again. And if we're gonna break, everybody in this
Todd,
community.
Yeah.
Todd, you showed something. Did you want to?
Yeah, well, and Todd, you were a coach. You coached this building champ. You coached the life planning, the why stuff. So I'd love to hear your take on this as well.
Well, let's not let Noel off the hook though. So push him a little bit.
I was going to say, I want to add one more thing, and this will give you more time to think.
All right, go ahead.
Todd.
No, you go, Todd. You go, Todd, and then Deborah's going to.
You got to show. You got to talk about what you were showing.
Oh, I just showed in my planner where it says, I'm not going to show off all my goals yet, but it's a hell yes or no for me in 2023, right? So, I don't know who said that whole thing, but I laughed. I found this sticker. I don't know where my daughter got it from, and it said hell yes, and then I cut up her friends' stickers that say or no, and because again, I'm just looking at my life, and so I've had my new planner for I don't know 2 weeks that it's been sitting there, and I finally cracked it open as I started doing really what Dave's talking about, reviewing my life plan, and then really thinking what's important for me business wise and what's important for me personal really is the big thing. And so I'll need to commit to teach a life planning class in January. I normally teach it in December, but if you go to the Win by Noon channel, in fact, I'll find a link and I'll throw it down below. I did a life planning class last year with permission of Building Champions to share what Dana Harkavy wrote out in the book Living Forward. So I definitely think that you're right, Dave. If you're thinking about your why or you're struggling with it, that's a really good framework to help somebody, work backwards from, really what is you're looking for. And I think what Noel said, I don't know if you guys all caught it, but it's something that I've gotten stuck in before. He said, hey, I didn't put out a number. So therefore we, my interpretation of it, we didn't put out a bigger number, and therefore we kind of got stagnant because we weren't thinking about it every day. And so if you haven't really done your planning, if just talk business for a second for what your goals are for 2023, then really, how are you going to hit it? Right. It's the whole idea of, I don't believe if I just think about getting money in my mailbox or a bicycle showing up on my doorstep, it's going to happen. But I do know that when I put out a big goal and I write it out, whether I look at it as frequently as I should or not, I tend to work towards and hit that goal. And the times where I haven't set my goal bigger are the times where I've just had years of stagnation. And so I would encourage all of you to just think through what that looks like for you. And then I think Dave, you kind of crushed it, Gallegos, when you said, I can help you if you have a why. If you can tell me why you care, I can coach you. And I think that that's really, really the key. And so I love the fact that you made your loan officers come up with the 3 things that'll help them, that they're committed to in Q1, and more importantly, why it really matters to hit that goal. So I'm digging it.
Well, and just to put a bow on having the why, which I love, I had a coach once tell me, he said, if I told you I was going to kill your entire family unless you shoveled this coal for 6 years, you would go shovel that coal and commit to doing whatever you had to do every day without probably complaining or even having the temptation to quit, because of the why is so big that 6 years, or if it were 10 years, you would go shovel that coal because the why of saving your family is that important to you. And so not that any of us have probably a goal of shoveling coal, but some days it may feel like that, especially when you're doing some of the things that I know you're doing with Lender Launchpad and social media, that it can feel like you have so many hats to wear that at what point does it all come crashing down if you don't have that action plan or have that bigger why and purpose behind it. So that was the bow that I wanted to tie together.
And so Noel, I'm going to give you one more minute, Noel.
Totally
sweating bullets right now. It's like, don't ask for my name.
Poor guy, this is his first interview on here. We're grilling.
Like, geez, thanks, guys.
Hey. So, but no, before I come back, I'm going to buy you a little more time. But also, I just want to emphasize how important I think this is coming into 2023, that we have real clarity around our why. And to me, there's 2 whys. There's the business why, and then there's the selfish why. So I just put a link to an interview I did with Jeremy Forcier years ago, and it's called Jeremy Forcier's Selfish Why. And, and he has this business why of good people deserve great advice. And it really motivates him. It's even bigger than doing 200 million, which is typically Jeremy's year, the number he wants to do. By the way, I'm interviewing Jeremy on the 10th, so we'll find out what his goals are and everything. And then Jeremy has his selfish why. And he wants to be rich. In fact, he wants to fly private someday. And he wants to have $10 million in cash in the bank. And now it's his why. And he shares it publicly. And I give you guys a link to it, but it motivates him. It motivates him to do what he does. And so coming back to you, because I do know you're a family man, just in the prep that we did and follow you on social media. And I know that your family is important, but what are some of your whys beyond, what you've said so far?
I think it's, a really good point too. I think the one why, and hopefully this fits in the category, is looking forward with 0 regret. So if I definitely do that every year of saying, what do I have to do so I don't have any regrets this year? And it definitely goes back to my family and my kids. My son's into basketball, my daughter's into basketball as well. And I want to make all of their tournaments and all of their practices. So that's 4 nights a week. So to me, that's, if I missed any of that in this time of their life, I would regret that. So that's one thing last year I did, and I didn't miss anything. I'm not going to miss it this year. And I think that is a definite massive why to me, because they're my focus, right? If there's any people that I want, I just want to raise good kids, right? And I want them to see that, and that's going back to Dave's first question of, what is the why? I want to show them that, I can power through this and grind through a really difficult part of our market right now. So, and by doing it, that's just by saying it. So, and I think they all correlate together, if that makes sense. So that's a big why for me moving forward.
I love it. No, thanks for going a little deeper on that. And community, if anyone has, documented and developed your business why, your selfish why, however you want to do it, and I always say there's really no right way to do it. It's right if you remember it. It's right if it truly motivates you to do what you need to do every day. Then you got the right why. But if you're not doing what you're supposed to do every day, you're not, winning by noon, and you're not achieving your financial goals, then you haven't got clear. It's not clear and personal, and you're doing it wrong. So fix your why, and you'll fix your results. Anything else you want to say on that?
No, that's it. Does your why make you cry?
Ooh, does your why? All right, guys, let's get
Hardy. That's a Darren Hardy.
That's okay.
But
That's
it's
okay.
like, I don't want to take credit for anybody else's quote.
We're
but that's
giving
what
Darren Hardy, does your why make you cry?
But that's what it comes
That's
down
okay. We
to.
do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when he says it, like you
Yeah.
almost like when he says it and he talks about it, I can't remember where I heard it.
Yeah.
It almost makes you cry. So, because you can tell it's just the things that are important. Because when you get down to the things that are really important, then nothing will stop. Right.
All right. So ode to Darren Hardy. So the next part of Gallegos's questions are, okay, you have those goals. We don't want 5 things. If you had 3 things that you're working on in Q1 that you need to do in order to achieve those goals, what are the 3 things in Q1, Noel?
Yeah. So I think it was it 3 weeks ago. I forget the title of it, but it was the over million with its sales. I mean, just that gap in sales from a loan officer perspective, including us that have been in the industry for 2 decades now. I still think getting back to those basics. I'm not a big scripting guy, and when you guys were on that call, it's like that's it, right? That's the biggest thing, like to get those scripts down, get back to selling, and just the basics of it, getting back to the basics. That's definitely on the top of Q1 for sure. Because then I think it kind of dawned on me too, that if you can get back to scripting, back to basics, I'm all about when I'm working my best during the day, I'm not thinking. So if I can get scripts going and not having to think through every scenario, that's going to be huge for my business. So that's number 1 is those sales calls like Dale's going over.
So, and guys, I interviewed Dale multiple times the past few months, and we released a collaboration of a sales training program. So check that out. We'll put a link down below with my most recent, actually, well, not last Friday, but the Friday before. It was all about optimizing your conversion. And I push anyone watching this, if you are not doing something to optimize your conversion, improve some part of your process that will improve your conversion, put that on the Q1 list. What else? Give us another thing that you're going to do in Q1 to come out winning.
Yeah, I'm going to put the pedal down on socials for sure. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing where it started initially, where not getting so much socials out there, was I didn't know the structure and the system to it. So one thing that we're doing, and Todd talks about theme days, Monday is going to be my video day. And it's not necessary. The gap initially was, how do I even do that? So it's doing my theme days, finding my 2 topics for that day, and getting a system out for when socials are going out with video, right? It used to be, oh my gosh, I don't want to be in front of video type of thing. So we're past that point, right? There's a certain point where you just say, man, let's just go. I don't want to overthink this. So that's definitely the next one, is just step on video from a structure standpoint. Because I've just had, over these last month or so, the calls and the conversations I've had with some agents, with some clients that I had no idea they even looked at my socials. That's where it's really saying, oh my gosh, this is working, right? So we're going to step on that even more.
It's
Cool.
that social proof and creating trust before you even have the opportunity sometimes to have the script prepared. Where what are, especially with the number of first-time home buyers being millennials and now even Gen Z's coming up, they need so much validation, and they're going to social proof that they're looking at reviews and they're looking online to see if they can kind of sniff test, can I trust you? Like, are you going to protect my interest? And so we have theme days that I'll send to you if you want, that mimics in fact, if you just get the Win by Noon planner, that's the social media edition. We actually put it in the planner of your themed content days for video. And then don't forget to use the scheduling tool. So then you can be everywhere every day with one click.
Love that. So guys, we put a link to the Dale Vermillion in chat, so it's down below. Also, I do want to do a call out. I've interviewed Hal Elrod multiple times on the Miracle Morning. I'm not saying don't read the book, because you should get the book, read it, but you could go to our YouTube channel and do a search for Hal Elrod in our channel. And I've interviewed him a lot of times. And it also reminded me, I think I need to get him on the calendar. You know, if Hal has time, I'll try to bring him back in, because, you know, it's gonna be another great year of opportunity because of how many problems there are. But it's gonna be another year where, you know, the best problem solver wins. So Dave Gallegos, any more questions you got?
I think we just got two. Do you have a third one, Neil?
There you go. See, that's, by the way, guys, that's what a great branch manager does. That's leadership right there.
I love
I
well,
definitely,
I love lead conversion.
in the video, let's see. So Dan Keller, well, one other one was Dan Keller when he was talking about data-driven LO, just getting deeper into local data and conveying that to my agents. That's going to be something definitely that we're going to dive into much more in Q1 for sure. So I want to show that data and convey it, not only just research it and listen to it. I want to convey it in a better form, which we will in Q1. So.
It sounds, you called out a few of the YouTube interviews of the mortgage coach community. Yeah. Do you watch them pretty regularly? Like, how often do you tune in and watch a video on the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel?
Yeah, for sure. So we do. I call her my partner assistant, Darcy. One of us, it's pretty much mandated Tuesday and Friday calls. We'll go down and get our quick hits from those. If one of us is not available to do it, the other one does. And we literally put it in an Excel document on, what are the takes from it. Again, we just, this as a source of info, this community is number one from what we're doing. So every week, one of us will listen to one of them every week. So.
Wow. Well, that's, first of all, it's people like you that make this community awesome. Any top of mind, some of your favorites, like if there was, what was, a favorite or most valuable to you today? Anything to mind?
Yeah, the Dan Keller, I just keep coming back to him. I mean, the guy's a complete stud, right? I mean, the one that he did with the 100 calls on, what did he say? He said, limit distractions and make more calls. And I was
he said it's math.
Yeah, it's solo. And that's the biggest thing, like limiting the distractions right now. I think that was a massive one that I was just super pumped about. I talked about Dale. And then I don't recall that the LO's names from Neo, but it was it's Hard Times with Strong People with Josh Metal. I thought that was an awesome one. Those two LOs, I was like, man, they are next level, right? So those ones that we've revisited over and over again. So those are my top three for sure.
Right, what about Scriptapalooza? Have you guys ever watched that one?
Yeah, totally.
Oh.
So we have, I think, you could just go down the line, I think, with Scriptapalooza. That's definitely an annual thing that we'll always listen to for sure.
So guys, I want to show on my screen, I'll be posting this on our YouTube channel on Monday morning. But I spent more time writing this. I've done this now. This was the 7th time where I've issued the top 10 videos in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. And I spent a lot more time this time, because not only did I do the top 10, I did the top 20, and I put in the top 5 takeaways. So, what are the mega trends that I took from all of them? I actually had Dan Keller as my guest on Tuesday. And him and I spent the first half of that really breaking down the gold from Mortgage Coach. And Scriptapalooza came in first, everyone. So you guys are getting this breaking news. Dan Keller, the one that you said was one of your favorite, was number 2. And it was actually the most shared video. So it was shared 350 times and it was the most liked. So second most views to Scriptapalooza. And then Jeremy's scripts and more scripts came in third. Shayla Gifford winning with Realtors, number 4. Jeremy's Realtor Playbook, 5. Number 6, how to have 25 conversations with realtors this week with Denise Donahue and Keith Collins. Make sure you tell Denise. Halftime report with Ryan Hills. Database scripts with Jeremy. New loan officer playbook with Todd Bookspan. What's up, Todd? And number 10, helping listing agents and buyers agents with Nicole Roth. And then I'm not going to read them out loud, but we also put in the top 50 or the top 20. And then we called out some of the stats. And then I'm calling out what I think are a few of the most valuable videos when rates are higher. What's your rate? All Scriptapaloozas. The call with Dan, and then, date your rate, marry the house, I think are among the most important videos right now. Any comments from that, Noel? Anything jump out or, anything?
I think a lot of it reinforces the scripting part of it, right? I mean, it might not be the highest, like most kind of sexy thing we can go over, but man, if you can get your scripts down and eliminate thinking, like I said, that's what those are the things that I'm seeing, that it's a lot of scripting and they're doing it over and over and over again. It's a system in place. So it all kind of goes in line with what we're talking about.
Hey, so Tom just asked for it. So Tom, I'm going to publish that on LinkedIn on Monday. If anybody, really wants it over the weekend, I don't want to mass distribute it, but if you email me at Dave@Mortgage Coach, I don't know, the first 3 or 5 people that email me, I'll give out a few copies, but I really want to release it on LinkedIn in terms of just mass distribution. But, first 3 to 5 emails that come in to Dave@Mortgage Coach, I'll give you the Word doc. Just don't share it with anybody, and it's an editable document, so don't screw it up. So cool. Todd, anything you want to ask or say at this point? We're at the third quarter of this call.
Well, I just love that you're, the scarcity play. Oh, the first 3 to 5 people, and there's going to be a link there. You're going to have to Venmo Dave some money for that if you want to be the first 3 to 5.
Well, you know what? Now that you say it, maybe how much money do you think I could get for early release of that?
A lot. Well, so let me ask Noel a question, because I love the fact that you said you're committed to go to your kids' games this year. And I think that oftentimes other loan officers or other people in life think they have that same idea, like I'm gonna do this. So walk us through what's your plan to be intentional to make sure that happens?
Wow. Really good question. So
did you know you were coming to the coaching session?
It's like Shark Tank.
I definitely, I feel like I'm being redundant on those things in the morning. Like if I can get those big rocks done during the morning, and have my wins by a certain amount of time and can feel like I got these things done, I can leave by 6. That's the biggest thing. Like I am off my phone, out and to my kids' game. So, but I'm not going to feel good about doing that unless I get these things done. So win by noon, miracle morning, all those things attributed to, hey, if I can get these things done, then I'm not even in the back of my mind thinking about work, right? So just that line in the sand. So I think it's again redundant, but it works, right? And we're gonna lean into that even more moving forward. Hopefully that answers.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. I mean, for me, I think it's always that, right? You've got to be intentional. Like I coach my kids soccer, and so literally it was on my calendar that I'm leaving at 3:00 on whatever. I think it was on Tuesdays, to make sure that I was, there when school got out so I could coach. And so I think you nailed it, right? You have to be intentional about what you do in order to get there. So I think that's great for people to hear.
Well, I also think you need to schedule it. I mean, that's something I'm super proud of in my career, because I travel a lot, and and I put all my son's lacrosse games on my schedule at the beginning of the year. And I also was an assistant coach, and I put all the coaching sessions on my schedule so that I committed to it. And during my son's, career as an athlete in high school, I never missed a game. I missed one game because they moved the date of the game, and I was committed to be on a stage somewhere. So I did end up missing one game, in his high school career. But just a reminder, guys, the things that are you're committed to, schedule them. And that's another reminder, because I'm ADD and dyslexic. I have to schedule things. So if you want to work on some skills, schedule some jam sessions. When Todd and I first started this insane productivity with Darren Hardy, which you were on the first one, the biggest takeaway, like we did this 90-day mastermind of Darren Hardy's insane productivity program. And there were like, I don't know, 8 or 10 like cornerstones. We actually made a cheat sheet. I'll try to find a copy of it, throw it in the group, because it was really good. It was like, we did this, 3-month, I don't know how many hours it was, but I mean, it was a pretty intense commitment of time for personal growth. But the single biggest and most important thing was jam sessions, scheduling jam sessions so that you're working in your business, not on your business. Wait, you're working on your business, not in your business. And so guys, schedule that shit, schedule it now. Anything you want to add to that?
No, that's just it. About scheduling is such a big deal, and so hard for most people that are LOs, because I always think the best LOs are all ADD, and they're all like, they can do a million things at the same time. And then they do that, which makes it really challenging when it comes down to being really disciplined about spending time prospecting, spending time, on Todd's theme base. If Win by Noon is such a powerful tool, because it gives you the block, do this today. And so you schedule everything in your life anyway, you just schedule your priorities. And that's a harsh reality to be made aware of sometimes, is like, well, you made this happen, this thing that you had on your calendar, you were there for that. How come this other thing that you said was important? How come your prospecting wasn't that important? Because a doctor's appointment, you show up. It's at a certain time, you have to be there. You don't talk on your phone. You just go to the doctor's appointment. You can do that for everything in your life. You just have to decide. And so that's what a jam session's all about.
Yeah, no. And Darren says schedule 90-minute jam sessions. And I found that quite frankly impossible for me, for my ADD mind to do. So I schedule 45-minute jam sessions, but I do them, and I found that, hey, if you can schedule it and do it, that's where I get most of my work done, and I'll, like, whenever I have a bunch of work, writing, studying, working on the business, I schedule 45-minute jam sessions. So how about this? I know you're a big Win by Nooner. Walk us through how you use Win by Noon and the Win by Noon planner to do what you do.
Yeah, and it's funny when I have my planners from last year all set up, and I'll know the weeks that I was more productive on the info on it. Like if I'm if I have a day where there's not enough, or I don't have notes, or I don't write my goals down, or my 3 big rocks for the day, I know looking back at that week, it was an unproductive week. So the best weeks that I've had were all planned. I saw the scheduling for that week. They were littered with all the stuff and the ideas that I have through it. So I just go down the line, right? But I schedule it on my Mondays, my Monday mornings, ideally Sunday nights, but most likely Monday mornings, going through that next week, so I can have a good visual of what do I want to accomplish along with those top 3 that I do. And I take that to every day, right? And I literally jotting through the day and then recounting it on Friday of, hey, did I do those things to move my business forward? And it's just funny, there are weeks that you don't do it. You might miss a few things and you're like, my gosh, those are the weeks where it's pretty evident that I didn't get the things done that I needed to. So yeah, just basically having it open, working through it day in, day out. That's how I do it. So.
Well, and 2 things that I want to add to that, especially with right now, everyone's setting their either New Year's resolutions or 2023 goals. And so my challenge to you all is, could I look at your week next week and determine what your goals are? Like, do you already have your ideal week set? And do you have those blocks where even if we looked at last week, or let's say the week before, like, could we review your calendar and find what you value most? What are your highest priorities? And that's what I love about the Win by Noon planner is it does allow you to plan that ideal week. So you can put your rocks and put your non-negotiables in there. But most importantly, it's also allowing you to then reflect each week. And that is one piece that I think we don't do enough is, what did I say I was going to do? And did I do it? And like Dave said, why didn't I do it? What got in the way? Am I tracking my numbers? Am I looking for those little opportunities of improvement? And the only way you can do that and measure is if you know your numbers and track your numbers. And so the other item that I wanted to add is I had made a social media post. It was on Instagram and it was one of those interactive stickers. And if you guys aren't using those, the polls or the questions, that's a great way to increase your social listening and find out what's truly valuable to the audience that you're serving. And so I had made a post that said, which is more difficult for you, creating the plan or working the plan? And most people said creating the plan. And so if you're not creating the plan, then you're surely not working the plan. I thought more people were going to tell me working the plan. And so if you're having trouble creating that ideal week or knowing what you should do every day, then hit the easy button, go to winbynoon.com, because it literally spells it out for you with like daily checkoffs and what you should be tracking so that at least that part is done. You don't have to create anything outside of that other than setting your appointments, but then also it allows you to track your numbers. So if you aren't tracking, make that a 2023 commitment, because otherwise, if you don't track it, how are you going to improve it?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I was going to say to piggyback on that, John Maxwell quote, the secret to our success is found in our daily agenda. And his contention is that if I got up when you got up this morning and I followed you around from the time you got up to the time you went to bed, John Maxwell claims that he goes, I'll be able to tell you how successful you're going to be based on what you did all day. Mm-hmm. And so if I followed you around all day, and to your point, if you have a schedule and like I plan these things and I compared it to what you said you were going to do versus what you did, because that's it. And when you know that the secret to your success is found in your daily agenda, then you can win. You can win because like, oh, all I have to do is the things I know I'm supposed to do. This business isn't that complicated. It's, we all know what we have to do. The conversation with Mike White this morning, you either don't know what to do or you're choosing not to do it. And so if that's the case, then the daily agenda is the secret. And so when you get that daily agenda down and you're tracking it, you're measuring it, it's simple. It really is.
But you know what's hard about that is like, I know I shouldn't eat Oreos before bed. And I'm talking like half a sleeve of Oreos. I know I shouldn't, but I even tell myself I shouldn't do this. I want to be healthy. I want to, I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 next year. I know I shouldn't do this. And I still put the cookie in my mouth with the milk. That's the hardest part, is when we know what we shouldn't do, then we do it. So that's where I think accountability and having a mentor really helps, or being a part of some kind of coaching group, because left on your own, if you're anything like me, which is a completely flawed human, I'm a sucker for Oreos. I just am.
I think a half a sleeve is okay though, Deb. I think it's that full sleeve, I'm just saying.
Thank God. Every night.
Well, not every
night. Yeah. So let's do this. We're getting down to 10 minutes left. I want to leave the last 5 minutes for Todd to really unpack this call, unpack this year, and tell us all how we should start off the new year. So Todd, be ready for 5 minutes of, Mr. Win by Noon close out of the year and prep for New Year. And Noel, that gives you 5 minutes. If there's, things you want to make sure that, you came to the call to share, or there's questions you have, like, we want to make sure this has been valuable for you and we've got value from learning from you. So, what do you want to share, or what do you want to ask in your last 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's just like, again, it's surreal being with you guys. It's just such good info and value added items. So the one thing that I'll was a good one of my affirmations is a book called Soundtracks. And the guy's name that writes it is John Acuff, Acuff. One of his affirmations in the morning is saying momentum is messy right now. So I think that's one of the things I'm leading into 2023, that right now with all this pivot that's going on with the market, I'm getting a little bit out of my comfort zone, trying to do it even more. It feels a little bit messy, right? But I think that in the bottom of my gut is, even though it feels messy, it feels right? And eventually it's going to get to that system in place. But I thought momentum is messy is a good thing, right? That if you can condense that, make it a system, move it forward, that's a big thing on my mind right now. I thought it just really resonated with me.
Yeah, I just looked up that book, or David just did, and I mean, it's got like 1,900 reviews. The guy I've seen speak, John, I can't ever pronounce it. Acuff. He's a badass. So I'm gonna check out that book. You made me think of something, kind of like you've got a central theme that you're entering the new year, and I like to always have a word that I enter the new year with, and I just came up with my word, by the way. It's action. And as I was hearing you talk, it's part of how I landed on action. I'm like, hey, it's going to be another tough year, and the best cure to negativity, or the best cure towards, challenge, it's action. Now, smart action, I don't want to have two words. If I had two words, it'd be like smart actions, but sometimes just action. And guys, this is going to be a year where action is required if you want to gain market share, even if you want to survive in the mortgage business. It made me think, like, for the loan officers that know what to do, but they're not doing it. Yeah. Action. Like, and I'm not trying to sell my word on anyone else listening to this. I'm just telling you what my word is for 2022. I would love to know, if you're watching this and you've got a word that's going to be your theme word of the year, put it in chat. I would love to know what people have is, kind of their word of the year. With that said, Todd, why don't you help us wrap a bow around this, make it actionable, close out the year, and tell the world what. Oh, here's one: better. Paul wants better. Dave wants consistency. Keep those coming, everybody. So Todd, what you got?
All right, so I'm thinking intention might be my word, because I really feel like when I'm intentional about something, then that makes everything else happen. But I'm just thinking on that one. I like that word.
By the way, is that always your word though, Todd? Like, when I think of the word intention, like, you're in the dictionary, Todd Bookspan.
Well, I appreciate that. I think there's lots of words I use a lot, and that is one of them. But I need a reminder to myself, right? I think that, I always joke, part of the reason that I love to do this every week with you and with Deb and who's ever our guest is because it makes me better, and it holds me accountable, right? The reason that I do dumbass things, like I listen to Dan Keller talk about his 100 calls, and I say I'm gonna do 100 calls. Not only did I say I'm doing it once, I said I'm gonna do it 3 times. And then I've got this group that's going to hold me accountable to that. So I would say this: first off, thanks, Noel. I think this was one of my favorite calls of the year because you were a really good sport. We put you on the hot seat, and you should all understand that that's what having a coach is like. A coach is going to ask the hard questions, and Noel didn't dodge any of the questions. He said, all right, he thought about it and he answered the questions with his truth. And I think that as we head into this year, Dave talks about jam sessions, and it's funny, in my Q1, that's one of my personal habits of success is 4 hours a week of that. And then I'm also adding in thinking time, which is from the book, The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And I'm going to spend more time just thinking. I've got another book. I'm not going to talk about it today that I mentioned before to this group, but I'm going to really do something intentional around it and take some action next year with a book in our community that I feel like will be a big impact as well. And so I think as you are all kind of winding this down, right? We're winding down 2022. We're getting ready to go into 2023. Noel said it. He said, momentum is messy, right? Like, what are you going to do to gain momentum? So for me, the last 3 weeks, I made 100+ realtor calls each week. I averaged over 50 quality conversations each week, with a lot of you sitting there watching me and actually listening to me, because I did it on Zoom just like this, so people could see me and hear me and have those conversations. And what I would say is that had over 70 people register. And the first week we averaged over 20 people on listening and dialing alongside of me. Each week we picked up the number of people that registered, and the next week we had half of that. And then the last week, although I did move the day, we had half of that again. And so that's oftentimes where we lose out, right? We say we're going to do something, we get excited about it, and then it kind of fizzles out because it didn't get scheduled, right? What gets scheduled gets done. And so, the first word that we pulled out from Noel was consistency. You've got to be super consistent with it. Again, it's something I'll send you guys for free. I'm a big believer in having a visual calendar, right? So this is something that's in the back of Win by Noon, but if you want it, I'll email you a version of it that you can print out. But mine, this one's really thick cardboard. I've got my current one. It's on thinner cardboard because it's a mess. I'm going to have Adam print out the thick one. But what are you going to be intentional about in 2023? What's important to you, right? Noel said big rocks. And so for you, I want you to think about, just from a personal perspective first, like, what is it that you want to make sure gets done this year? So for me, the first thing that went on the calendar was all my family's birthdays, my anniversary, because I want to be intentional around those days. The next thing that went on there was my daughter, who's in college, is when were her spring break, fall break, when does school start and end? Because my goal is, I already told my family, hey, here's when we're leaving town for the summer, trying to plan a trip to Europe. I said, hey, here's the 2 weeks that we're going to do this. And, does this work for everyone? I'm trying to have everyone clear the decks. I've got Jazz Fest in, I'm going into New Orleans. I got the Modern Mortgage Summit. I'll be hanging out, with Dave. I've got some wealth events, which I'll probably talk about on our call on Tuesday, which ironically, I'm going to see Mr. Gallegos and Deborah Bird, both at my first event in Nashville in February. So super stoked about that. And so what is it that's important to you? Get it on the calendar, right? Put it in writing and put it in ink. Right. My kid goes in and she puts colors around it. So it's even color coded. And then you gotta back it in from there. Right. So if it's going to be important to you to get to your kids' sports games, then write them on your calendar so that they get done every week. Right. Write out, what is your ideal week look like? Not just for the first week of the year, but for every week of the year. And then be okay. You can modify it as you go. But I think we get stuck like, hey, it's got to be perfect. No, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to start. And so just think, what does that look like to you? So my commitment I made, coming off of my 3 weeks back to back of 100 calls. 100 calls was hard. And there's a thing called the Parkinson's law, right? Which we talk about, that is that time expands or activities expand to fill the time available. And so it was funny. The first 2 weeks, it took me from 8 a.m. to 5:30 to crank out 101 calls. The next week I only had till 4:30 because I was going to Monday Night Football. It was on my calendar with my brother-in-law, another Cardinals loss. But I had to be done by 4:30. And guess what? I finished right at 4:30. I got done because that's the time I gave myself. And then last Thursday, I only gave myself till noon to do the 100 calls. And I cheated a little bit. I did 20 some odd texts and voice memos, but I reached out to my 100 realtors that day, and I hit the commitment. And so the key for me is what are you going to keep doing? So for me, I said, I'm going to commit every Thursday to 50 realtor calls unless I'm on the road. But so again, it's already on here, right? 50 partner calls. I've got from 8 till noon blocked off every day that I'm going to make partner calls for my team in 2023. So think about, what does your ideal week look like? There's my January. It's full of, mainly for me, it's, speaking opportunities to realtors, speaking opportunities to mortgage companies, coaching calls like this. Deb and I are kicking off our Monday Win by Noon call on Monday. And then things that came out of my 100 calls, like I'm meeting with the #1 realtor in Arizona. They did over $1 billion the last 3 years. Oh, I got lunch with him. Why? Because I called him and he picked up the phone. Right. I'm going to, meet with a local real estate team.
That is so weird.
By noon. Right. It wasn't that hard. And so really what I want to encourage you all to do is figure out what is going to be successful, right? Go back to what Dave said, right? What are those 3 things that are really important to you and why is it important? That's where the life plan piece comes in. So, kind of visit that piece. If you really know what's in here, then you can make it happen. And so I think when it comes to, kind of my closing thoughts, and then I'll shut up and let someone else say something, is that 2023 is going to be whatever you choose it to be, right? One of my business partner, Matt, was at a realtor meeting on Tuesday of this week. And he said, the guy was talking about 90,000 units. And Matt's like, well, maybe it's only going to be 60,000 units. They're talking about, and I'm like, who cares? Like, it doesn't really matter. If your goal is 10 loans a month, then figure out how to get your 10 loans a month. It doesn't matter what's going on anywhere else. You're going to create your own reality this year. And I think that this community is going to be a big piece of that. It's a big piece of it for me. I want it to be a big piece of it for you. And so I just know I speak for Deborah and Dave and myself as we head into next year, plug in with us, plug into the community, tell us what we can do to be of help. And the bottom line is do what Dave said, take action, right? It doesn't help if you sit here, right? We heard Noel talk about how not only has he watched a lot of these videos, he watches them again. He's got his team watching them. And that's what we want for you. We want you guys to have a huge, Happy New Year. I want you all to spend a little bit of time over the weekend being intentional around what it is you want to put on that calendar. And then just know Dave and I are kicking off a call on the 3rd and talk about what I would do if I was a new loan officer. We're going to talk about building referral relationships and then really building wealth in 2023. Those are 3 things I'm super passionate about. And I'm grateful for all of you who are here watching this. And of course, for Mr. Savage, Miss Bird, and Gallegos, I'm grateful for you. And now my new friend Noel, because he wears Win by Noon shirts when he does all his videos. So of course, we're all great friends. So, and Robert behind the scenes, as always, for being a smiling face when I get on here on Fridays.
All right, guys. So we're going to go into wrap up. I got a few things to say, and then I'm going to let Deb, anybody else who wants to say something in a minute or less. So guys, you know, Todd is just a tremendous leader by example. I hope you saw all the things that he scheduled and they're done. Like, it's done. He's going to the new year with the schedule. So that should be a massive takeaway for everyone, to make sure that the things that are most important to you personally and professionally are scheduled. And if they're not done by the end of today, like, when are they going to be done? You know, and make a commitment to yourself and get the things that matter most personally and professionally scheduled. You know, this Tuesday at 9 o'clock should be on everybody's schedule that's watching this, because Todd Bookspan is going to unpack his playbook for how you should be building referral relationships and how you can be creating wealth building opportunities for 2023. He's put a lot of thought into what we're going to do on Tuesday. I think it's going to be an incredible conversation. So schedule it, show up to it. We'll be promoting that in our Facebook group. I don't know, usually I do it the day before, so it would be Monday, but I might put it in the community sooner. Todd and I will talk about whether we're going to promote it Monday, but put that on your schedule now. And I hope you got real value from this community this year. You know, if you, you know, did get value, let us know, like the video, give us feedback. Dave, minute or less.
I just was going to be a smart ass, but are you saying, Todd, that you just called a bunch of realtors and then you got business opportunities? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't know.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it? They actually, and you know, didn't get 100 people didn't answer the phone, but you know, I had 50 to 60. 50 was my minimum standard. So I actually made 110 calls the first day because I wanted to make sure I talked to at least 50 people. I ended up talking to 51.
That's cool though, that how the work expands to fill the time allotted for it. And that's where I love that you got it down to like a 4-hour block and you still powered through. That's amazing.
So action, man. He took action. Deborah, any closing thoughts, minute or less?
So I had put in the chat, my just kind of bow over today's conversation is mindset plus skill set plus habits. So if you could, you know, make sure that you have goals or some intentionality with a system and a process around those 3 things, I think we will all kill it in 2023. Also, small little plug, we have something in the works with Todd and I that we will announce officially on Tuesday. So make sure that you stay tuned because you're going to want to be a part of this. And even Dave doesn't know about it yet. So
Cool.
Secret has been kept and it will be exposed on Tuesday.
All right, stay tuned, guys. And Noel, minute or less, any closing thoughts?
Just super grateful. We're going to be doing this through 2023, right? We're going to be listening and taking account of the community and just learning from it. Just the best pros in the industry are right here. And we're going to just do a lot more of what we've done in the last few years, but just grateful for all the people in this community.
All right. Hey, that's such a great closing thought. One little homework assignment I want to give everybody is I did this morning. I made a list of the 6 most important mentors to myself. And I mean, I just did it on my iPhone, took about 15 minutes, and I put down their name and I put down what were some of the things that I learned from these people that have really served my career. And it brought me to tears, you know, because it made me think of people that really taught me something special. So gratitude to the mentors that have served you. And for all the folks that are north of 50, like myself, let's give it back. You know, if you're over 50 and you've achieved a level of success, be a great mentor. And those are my closing thoughts. Take care, everybody.
See y'all Tuesday. Happy New Year.